Hey, what's up guys, and welcome to this video. And this video is a full review of the thing behind me. It's absolutely massive. It's the XR341CK gaming monitor from Acer. And I call it a gaming monitor, but I'm not even sure that that's fair really, because it's got so many strings to its bow. It's a curved ultra-wide panel with a resolution of 3440 by 1440. It's IPS and it runs at 75 Hz. All while having AMD Freesync with the range of 30 to 75 Hz. This is basically everything any AMD gamer out there is after, and even if you don't have an AMD card, it still might be a little bit more of a tantalizing option than the G-Sync equivalent because it is that much cheaper. But what is this thing actually like to use on a day-to-day basis, and could it be the best monitor out there? Well, to find out, I had to get it delivered, and as soon as it was delivered, immediately I was very impressed, because if you've ever had an Acer Predator product before, or just generally to be fair an Acer product, they don't always come packaged in the most nice way. And especially the last Acer monitor I tested, which was their G-Sync Predator model, which was a 1440p model from earlier this year, it cost a hell of a lot of money, and it basically just turned up in a slightly battered box, and it looked as if if you paid about £200 you'd still might go, oh. But this was completely the opposite. Really nice quality box, it came really well packaged, didn't need anything assembled, and as soon as you got out of the box, the stand and the whole overall appearance was really impressive. And the whole thing just oozes quality. The stand itself only really has tilt adjust, but because it's such a big panel, you're probably quite unlikely to have two of them, so you won't need to worry too much, and you can just twist the monitor into the place you want. But it's also got these cool underlight LED things as well, which while you can set to be an absolutely silly colour and probably just give you eye strain, if you set it to like a neutral white, if you're doing some late night gaming or something, or in a low light room, like unfortunately I am in here, it just makes it a bit easier to use in low light and more comfortable, which is something that actually you don't often see on monitors, and I think that's actually quite a nice feature. Connections wise though, we have a DisplayPort in that most people are going to use, and of course you need to use this to get your AMD FreeSync, but we've also got a mini DisplayPort, we've got an HDMI 2.0 socket, so if you want to plug in a 4K Blu-ray player or something when they come out, you're going to be able to do that nice and easily. But then we've also got a DisplayPort out, so if you want to daisy chain to other monitors, you can do that as well. It's definitely worth noting though that the DisplayPort is in a very bad place, and while the cable that comes in the box is not latched, if you use one that is latched like I was doing, you can't really unplug it very easily because the top of the monitor sort of blocks off your access to the latch, so you need to use like a flathead screwdriver to sort of unlatch it and then yank it out at the same time, and it's not very easy to do unfortunately. But once you have got it out, obviously you don't need to worry about this, but it is definitely worth noting that that unfortunately wasn't that well designed. But it's also got a USB port hub as well, USB 3, 4x port, so if you want to plug a load of different devices in, you can do that, and the USB cables are round the back. Overall connections wise, very good though, and it's definitely better than the G-Sync monitors, especially the early ones will be, because they are limited by the G-Sync chip that they have inside of them. Moving on to setting up the monitor, out the box colour accuracy is absolutely fantastic, and to be honest, if you're the sort of person that would never change anything, you're still going to be very happy. If you're like me and you like to change a few settings though, it's very easy to do so. The buttons are physical, and if you've been watching this channel you'll know that physical buttons or very good tactile buttons are the way to go, and I have no problem using the buttons other than the fact that they are only labelled on screen and not actually on the monitor anywhere, which means that I would accidentally turn the monitor off when trying to change a few settings. And while it was a little bit frustrating, I have to say it's a lot better than some of its competitors out there when it comes to setting it up. But loads of different options and loads of different ways you can use this monitor in terms of configuration, which is pretty nice. Now, this wouldn't be a very good review of this gaming monitor if we didn't talk about gaming. And I think it's very fair to say that you can expect the results to be very good. And for my first week of testing, I actually used an Nvidia card. I used a GTX 980. And while obviously I didn't get the benefits of FreeSync, I was able to overclock the monitor to 85 Hz, which was quite cool, and something I wasn't able to do on the AMD card. but it would depend on a game per game basis. I found that actually Batman Arkham Knight performed really well, and I didn't notice any real stutter or tearing or anything like that. But in some games like Call of Duty Black Ops, it just really didn't work very well. And I'm assuming this is just because of like some vertical sync related issue. But yeah, you're going to get tearing, you're going to get stutter, but this is to be expected. Switching over to the AMD side though, Asus were kind enough to lend out a AMD Fury, and this was their Strix edition for this review. And it's worth noting that it doesn't matter what graphics card you use, whether it's AMD or Nvidia, you're going to need something that's very powerful to drive this monitor at its full resolution of 3440 by 1440. You're also going to need a lot of VRAM as well, and when you watch the Just Cause 3 video that I do a bit later in the week, you will understand why. But with the Strix, performance was very good, and as soon as you've enabled FreeSync via the checkbox, you're in for a good time. I booted up Star Wars Battlefront, and it's just such an absolutely beautiful way to play this game. And I am someone that likes Star Wars Battlefront clearly than a few other people. One of the reviews that I did on that game, people were like, I'm not sure I agree with you here. But maybe it's just because on this monitor it looks absolutely fantastic. Your whole field of view is completely immersed. And the curve on a monitor like this it's not essential, but I probably wouldn't buy one that wasn't curved because it makes such a big difference. Not just because it's more immersive, but because it's genuinely more comfortable to use. It's not at all natural having a massive grey ultra-wide slabbed in front of your face, but as soon as it's curved round and it sort of curves with your natural sort of, I don't know, I'm going to make it up and say like your eye shape, but it's basically the way your eyes work, is like the corners of your field of view are slightly curved. So to have a curved monitor, trust me, it really does help make it more comfortable and immersive to use. Colour accuracy is truly fantastic. The smoothness from a FreeSync display really helps, and you can probably tell, but I was really impressed, and it's been such a great experience to play both Star Wars Battlefront and to play it on this monitor. It really has. Other games will vary. I mean, FreeSync's not going to help you if you have a game that's a stuttery mess. Ironically, Batman actually was one of the best games, and it performed really well at the settings I was trying to play it at. Something like Just Cause 3 though, I think it's just an AMD related issue at the moment, but you'd get explosion drops if you try and play it at the full resolution, where the frames drop below 30, and then that threshold then means that you're going to get some noticeable stutter, but that would happen on a G-Sync display as well. It's not going to save you from 30 frames a second drops. Nothing is going to do that, you're going to notice that. But if you operate within a range of say 45 to 75 frames a second, as long as it's all smooth, you're going to have a nice smooth experience, and it's really, really impressive. There is one big problem with this monitor though, and this is something that no manufacturer is going to be able to save you from, and that's basically just ultra-wide support. If the game you're playing doesn't support ultra-wide, so if you're playing one of the earlier Assassin's Creed games, and it may well happen with the latest ones, I haven't tested them so I don't know, but any application that doesn't support ultra-wide properly, you're going to run into just some unusable problems really. And there's nothing more frustrating than trying to watch the Zoolander 2 trailer, the latest one, when it's not in ultra-wide, and you basically just have a 21 by 9 trailer in the middle of your screen and then a massive black box all around it. Come on! But that's not the monitor's fault, and there's nothing really you can do about that. But as a general use sort of monitor, it's brilliant as well, because you've got so much more real estate to use. It's fantastic, and once again that curve helps it just be that little bit more comfortable to use, because the very corners don't feel like they're too far away. And if you are a hardcore productivity user, you're probably going to get on very well. But personally, for myself, if I'm going to be doing some photo editing, if I'm going to be doing some game streaming or something like that, I would still prefer to have two separate monitors that I can sort of use, one as a monitor and then the other one as an active sort of gaming monitor. But for pretty much 90% of what I use it for, this is by far probably the best monitor I have ever used. It is a shame that I am not a AMD graphics card user normally. Asus, luckily enough, had to lend me a card there so I could test this out. But if you are an AMD user, it just makes so much sense. And I've also seen this monitor now for about £680 online, and that is actually pretty cheap, because I think with ultra-wide monitors, you've kind of got to treat it as 1.5 monitors. So for a monitor that would have this specification in 16:9 for £400, you'd be saying that's very good. So for it to cost pretty much 1.5 times that amount, I think that's fantastic. And that's why overall, this is the first product to ever win the Editor's Choice Award. If you want an ultra-wide monitor and you have an AMD card, I really don't think there is anything better suited to you out there. It's a shame that you weren't able to overclock it to 85 Hz on an AMD card. Maybe you can, but with the built-in tools, I was unable to do that, but I was able to do that with the Nvidia card. The FreeSync experience itself, while it's very good, it's not as good as G-Sync, but bearing in mind it's significantly cheaper, I still think FreeSync is the better way to go, and you are limited in certain applications by ultra-wide support. But put simply, the color accuracy, the higher refresh rate, the FreeSync, the ultra-wide, everything together, all at a very reasonable price, makes this an absolutely unbelievable prospective product for you. It really is fantastic, and I highly recommend, if you're an AMD user, you go out and get it, because it really is fantastic. So that's pretty much all I have to say, other than I'm absolutely gutted that this has got to go back. But thank you so much to Acer for lending this monitor out for this review, because it really has been an absolutely fantastic experience. So what do you think? Is this a monitor you might pick up, or are you an AMD user that doesn't want FreeSync, or you want a 16:9 card, or are you an Nvidia user that wants to see maybe the G-Sync version of this monitor? And hopefully that review is coming very soon. Let me know in the comment sections below, and don't forget to subscribe to PC Centric for more videos like this. And if you want to see some more monitor reviews, there are plenty on the channel. Click the little eye somewhere around here, and then that will take you to all the monitor reviews I have done, and there are quite a lot. So thank you so much for checking out this video. As always, I really appreciate it, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.